Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls online video with me, Sherman. This is some big news, guys. Big news. I'm trying to retain myself because this is big. So if you guys didn't know, update 21 is coming out next week on PTS, and with it is the racial changes. So we're going to read through this. I'm going to try and retain myself while I do it, because coming from somebody who's been playing this game since launch, kind of off and on, but mostly since 1 Tamriel, I have to say I am blown away. Like, I'm sitting here, I normally shake normally, but I'm like 10 times worse. I can't even pick up my cup of coffee. It's that bad. So I'm super stoked about this. I'm super excited because I think that what they're trying to do is a good idea, but at the same time they need to look at other aspects of the game too. They can't just look at racials now. Like, what they did to racials is a good improvement, but now they need to look at other aspects to see what they can do to adjust. So this is a good start. So let's go ahead and read through this. It says, greetings. Thank you, Gilliam. It's always good to hear greetings from you. Today, the combat team will be showing an early glimpse of the racial changes for Update 21, coming to PTS next week. We'll discuss the reasoning behind why we targeted racial passives, our goals with the rework, and how some of the goals were met. As always, we're closely monitoring this thread and are very excited to hear your feedback on the matter. Note that we will be posting this on the German French forums as well in the next day or two. Alright, so first they talk about the problem space with racials. Below are the higher level reasons on why we decided to move toward reworking many of the racial changes for Update 21 and explanations of them to help understand their impact. Right now, there are a lack of effective options in picking your race and class combination. This is mainly due to the fact that many of the racial bonuses are percent increases of stats rather than a flat ones. This means races that provide a bonus to a stat that it didn't focus into gave a very little tangible impact. Many racial bonuses do not have universal application. I don't know why they didn't say universal application. They use that other word. Applicability. There you go. There you go, Sherman. You can speak. It's one of the words I have trouble saying. Sorry. And we'll go on. So, many bonuses provide from races had narrow applications or requirements, such as specific damage types or proc conditions. For example, orcs have a damage bonus that only applies to melee attacks instead of all physical attacks. Makes sense, right? Not every race provides a completely unique gameplay element. Some races currently provide smaller unique bonuses such as immunity to specific status effects or sneaking, but not every race has something of this manner. On top of this, some of the larger, more defining passives were not comparable in terms of impact. For instance, comparing an Argonian Resourceful passive to Imperial's Red Diamond. Some races provide far more mathematical combat power than others. The delta between some races is noticeably high, leaving some races feeling left behind, while other races feel too good to pass up for a combat perspective. Totally agree. To summarize, we decided to focus more on racial balance this update because racial choice was one of the large outliners to our core mantra of the game, freedom. We wanted to expand the horizon of choice and present players with a self-reflecting question. What is my playstyle or ideal build? Now, I'm going to quote this for future reference. What is my playstyle or ideal build? Quoting it. Because this fits into the rest of their mantra of their game philosophy behind the design of the game. Play how you want. Yeah, that's what we've always wanted. Providing options to help reach the individual answer. Now, instead of having a single race that focuses almost exclusively on a specific playstyle, you can pick based on your personal level. Thank you. That's all we asked for. Goals and process. So, allow a more effective options when picking a race for each role in tanking, healing, or damage dealing. The goal was one of our largest targets for this pass, since many playstyles had only one option for what was viable. This was done by converting percent bonuses to flat ones, so they provide similar bonuses to all playstyles. Please note that these flat values will now scale with other percentage modifiers, so there will be less of a delta between builds. We also expanded many of the interactions and proc conditions for the passives, so more builds could engage with them and allow for improved diversity. What? Like, are you guys being serious here? You guys want us to play other races now besides sticking to the standard? What? Okay, I can live with this. Equalize the overall power that each race provides by using our set bonus efficiency system, which compares the total amount of power that a bonus provides under equal terms. Okay, now they're not losing me, now they're making me more interested. So, when we're balancing numerical bonuses, this is our general procedure with the values you see. The system works by looking at the total power a bonus provides and comparing it to the bonus of 2 to 4 item sets. For example, if we have a 2000 stamina, we would compare it to a 2-piece value of stamina, which is 1096. The final result would be 2000, this 196 equals 1.82 set bonus efficiency. We did this for each bonus a race provides, so they would be roughly equal in power they provide. So they actually did math, guys. Look at this, you know. They actually use math. They've always used math. It's just been an awkward math. We decided to find a healthy standard for total race power provided and use the budget roughly 6.5 set bonuses for the power that each passive would grant. We used a previous version of Redguard and Altmer as our target goal. Note that some of our hybrid races will be slightly higher value since their power is divided. Most of the races receive buffs to reach this figure. Hybrid races? I didn't think hybrids were viable. They are now. They are now. Because of this, they've made them viable. But people will still say they're not as viable. No, this just made them viable. And, yeah. Most of the races receive buffs to reach this figure. Okay. Retain the enhanced and unique feeling and gameplay patterns that each race allows. Every race will now have a different way to engage with the game. This is either a new small but unique bonus or an improvement to their core passive. Note that the smaller bonuses are not meant to work with every build, since these are meant to be more for flavor. Okay. Improve the sense of progression that the racial passives provide when leveling up. We want each race to have a similar rate of gaining power as you level up. And as such, we've reconstructed the unlock order of some passives. Less powerful passives will unlock first, while the larger, more defining ones will unlock at later levels. Note that we will be refunding all your racial skill points if you've already unlocked these passives. You will not need to unlock them again on characters you've already obtained them on. Achieve the above goals while obeying our rich and structured lore and storytelling. They did it, guys. Alright, So this was one of the more challenging but exciting tasks, as it gave us additional opportunities to work with our other teams. We delved deep into our rich and established lore to make bonuses that highlight racial differences. This means that we didn't outright balance each race to be equal in every avenue of the game, as there's a story to be told with how the races engage with the world around them. Nords are well known for their being hardier races who can take a hit, while High Elves are better at wielding magical spells. If we were to balance them to be equal in both, we'd lose the unique identities of those races. Highly understandable. So let's see what they did. The developer's statements below are presented to give insight into our thought process when deciding how to represent Tamriel's races in ESO. Actual denizens of Tamriel, if we could talk to them, might debate about these characterizations. The first portion of each passive is how it works in its current state, while the latter are upcoming changes. If there are any. So, let's take a look at the High Elf first. The Magicka one. The Magicka race. Everyone loves this race for Magicka DPS. First, they get increased experience gain from destruction stabs line by 15%. Extra 1% generic XP gain, so no change. Spell charge, 9% Magicka recovery. Spell recharge, restore 575 Magicka or stamina based on which is higher after activating a class ability. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds. Reduces damage taken by 5% while you are using an ability with a cast or channel time. So now, whenever you use a class ability, you'll get either 575 Magicka or stamina back every 6 seconds, instead of 9% magic recovery. So it makes them more viable in both a Magicka stamina play point, which makes sense. Gift of Magus, 10% Magicka. Cerebane's Boon, increases your max Magicka by 2,000. Flat number, not a 10%. In fact, if you do the math, this is not a 10% increase difference. This is actually more like a 6 to 8% increase in that stat. So it's not that much of a difference, and it's not going to be a massive difference when you incorporate in the 36 or 26% you'll get in Magicka with the 20% from champion points and the 6% from Undaunted. So it's not going to be a massive increase. It's just going to be there to give you a benefit towards Magicka. So I can understand where they're going with this. It's a really good change. And a 26% increase with, let's say you have 22,000 Magicka and you add 2,000 to it, that's 24. Dude, it's like a 2,400. It'd go up to like 2,400. So you get another 2,400 on top of that 24,000 with 26%. But then if you add in the 8% or 7% or 8% that you get from Mage's Guild or being a Sorc, then it goes up a little bit more. So it's not a massive increase, but it's enough to show a difference that they are better to that degree. Elemental Talent, 4% fire, shock, and ice damage. Now they get increase your spell damage by 258. So they get an increased spell damage. So they do play better as a Magicka DPS, but they're still not. They're going to be better than other races at Magicka DPS by a small degree, but they're not as massive as they once were. Let's see what the devs have to say, because there's probably a big thing here. High Elf culture is highly ingrained with the belief of destiny and birthright. So we wanted the passives that highlighted their ability to harness the innate powers or class, granting them a unique resource when accessing a class ability. Really gets the feeling of off and makes it much more engaging than the previous flat recovery balance. On top of that, High Elves are well known for being powerful spellcasters, and we wanted to make the race feel more powerful when they are charging up their powerful ability. So it does still give that, it's just not as, like, noticeable now. It's not going to be as great as it once was, but it's still going to be noticeable. Alright, let's jump into Argonian changes. Increased experience gain with Resto Staff, extra swing, no change. Resourceful gain, 3% Magicka, and restore 4,620 health, magic, and stamina when you drink a potion. Now, increases max Magicka by 1,000, restores 3,600 health, magic, and stamina when you drink a potion. So it's not as reduced, but they no longer get their max, they get the max Magicka, but it doesn't look like it's that much of a difference. Like, you see the 3%, you see the 1,000, that's about equal there to some degree, but it's not as noticeable. Like, it's still not going to be noticeable. Like, it will, but it won't. It's kind of hard to explain. Argonian resistance, 9% max health, 1485 poison and disease resistance. Now it increases your max health by 1,000 and your disease and resistance by 2,310, and you're immune to disease status effect. So they are no longer immune to poison, but just disease. This is a good change. So, because now they're different from the Wood Elf when it comes to that. And they get Quick Mend, 5% healing done and received. Now they get Life Mender, increased healing done by 4%. Yeah, they're no longer main tank. They'll still be good at tanking, don't get me wrong, but they aren't going to be main tanking. Like, the passive is still good, but yeah. I want to see what they have to say about this. Sorry, guys. I haven't read this stuff. Argonians by nature are resilient creatures, adapting to their surroundings and accumulating themselves to the environment, or acclimating themselves to the environment. Their ability to shrug off potent diseases makes them hardier to take down, and their connection with the Hist empowers their will for life. Their bonus to healing done makes them gifted at healing themselves and their allies, while other resources returned after drinking a potion helps them stay in the fight. Regardless of their role, their ability to recuperate and get back into the fray is something to respect. Previously, Argonians offered far too many stats and were mathematically twice as good as some races. This retracted from the unique feeling we wanted each race to have. Since their bonus were all over the place, they should have had more, some more stats that make them stand out a bit more, while they have less in other stats, other areas that weren't in line with the vision. So now they're still good. It's just they put them more in place with the rest of the races. So the Wood Elf. Now I have to say something here. This is my primary race, so I'm gonna be a little on my toes about this one. So let's get into it. Increased gain of bow skills, okay, and fall damage, no changes. Increased endurance, 21 experience recovery, or 21% stamina recovery. Now you get increased stamina recovery by 258. What? Like, that's actually pretty good. That means you get a flat bonus no matter what. So that's actually really good if you're building for stamina recovery. So I think that's a good change. Resist affliction, 6% max stamina, 1485 poison and disease resistance. Now it increases your max stamina by 2,000 and your poison resistance by 2,310, and you're immune to a poison status effect. Whew. That's awesome. That is really cool. I like this change. Stealthy, reduced detection radius by 3 meters and increased damage done in stealth by 10%. Now they have Hunter's Eye. Increases your stealth detection radius by 3 meters, so they still get the 3 meters reduced stealth detection. But after you use a dodge roll, you gain 20% movement speed for 3 seconds? What? Wow. And it says, a quick note on why we changed the stealthy passive. Previously, the passive was shared between Khajiit and Wood Elf, and it didn't feel like feel distinct enough for each other. Additionally, while sneaking isn't a universal mechanic to the game, many enemies in Tamriel can't be bothered sneaking about. We wanted to take away some of the focus from this passive and build it into other passives instead. We still want to support the game mechanic, however, so we kept parts of the Wood Elves and Khajiit's version of these passives. Alright, so let's see what they have to say. The thick forests of Valenwood have imprinted an importance of the ability to hunt in the Wood Elf race, and as such they have a natural adaptness to detecting potential threats. Quick to react and well versed in the poisons of nature, they can outlast and outwit their opponents. These traits are demonstrated with their natural speed boosts when tactfully engaging combat, and their unparalleled stamina recovery. So they stuck to the idea of the Wood Elf, but they just changed it enough to give it some distinctiveness, but it still falls in line with the other races. This is actually really good. This might actually put them and the Redguard on equal ground now, to some degree, but we'll see. Bretons. So Bretons used to be like this race. People were looked at and went, "Rrr." Well, let's see what they did. Increased experience gain with light armor skill and gain an extra 1% alliance point gain. No changes. Gift of Magnus, 10% magicka. Now they get an increased max magicka by 2,000. Okay, very similar to the High Elf. Spell resistance. They would gain 3,960 spell resist. Now they gain 2,310 spell resist and 100 magic recovery. Okay, that's a lot different. And Magic Mastery, 3% Magicka cost reduction. Reduces the Magicka cost of your abilities by 7%. What? Like, Bretons just became the new healer. Like, what the hell? Like, that's really cool, because that's one of the things. Like, that 7% cost reduction is going to make a huge difference between them and the High Elf. The High Elf will get something similar to the Redguard's return of magicka every 6 seconds, or stamina, depending on which one is higher. But these guys get 100 magic recovery with extra spell resist and extra max magicka. And then on top of that, they get the reduced magicka cost to all their abilities. So they still retain a lot of their uniqueness of the race, but gain a little bit more. I mean, these guys, this is really, just, I can't even say it. It's just, that's too good. Let's read. The Breton race is a proud one and well attuned to the natures of magic. The natural hardiness paired with arcane ability allows them to shrug off powerful spells and retaliate in quick succession with their own. This is shown in their bonus to their magicka pool, as well as their high resistance to spell attack. Bretons should be feared for their ability to constantly weave spells with little delay. Yeah, and I think this might make them the new magicka race. I think this will slightly put them in par with the High Elf. But I say the new magicka race because of the 7% reduced cost. I mean, that's a huge difference. Wow. Alright, Dark Elf. This is another one that I like. So I'm going to be... We'll see. Experience gain with dual wield line. Yep. Reduces damage taken from lava by 50%. No change. Dynamic. 6% max stamina, max magicka. Now it increases max stamina and magicka by 1250. By 1,250? Yeah, that's hybrid. Okay, resist flame. 3% max magicka, 2,079 flame resist. Now increases max health by 600. And your flame resistance by 2,310. And you are immune to burning status effect. That's a big change. 600 health, huh? That makes him kind of universal, like across the board. Hybrid. Hey, who would have figured? Dark Elves are hybrids. Destructive Ancestry, 7% flame damage, 2% frost shock damage. Now they have Ruination, increases your weapon and spell damage by 250. No. 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 This is a joke, right? What? What? 258? Weapon and spell damage, both max magicka and stamina, and they get max health by 600. This is the ultimate hybrid, guys. Now, they don't get recovery, which kind of makes it feel bad, but put them in a Nightblade, and you got to think, Nightblades get 15% stamina, health, and magic recovery. And then you do that with their potion passive. You do that with their, yeah, just all the different stuff. This really works out for them. This makes them really good at a mix of different stuff. Let's see what they say here. Dark Elves are a sophisticated race that can thrive in the harshest conditions. Intelligent and quick, they are well versed in blade and magic. Give them a keen advantage in juggling between the two. By giving them a balanced bonus of weapon and spell damage, as well as magic and stamina, their natural cunning and versatility will be demonstrated as they can fulfill any role. Yeah, they're the ultimate hybrid. That's really cool. No, I like this change. I think this is probably one of the best changes that I've seen. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Breton change is awesome. The Argonian change, Wood Elf, all that stuff is awesome. But this made my day because I love hybrids. And this just made me just, yeah. Alright, Imperial. Increased experience gain with one-handed sword and shield. And gold gain, no changes. Toughness, 12% max health. Increases max health by 2,000. Okay, so they are still the hardier race when it comes to health. Conditioning, 10% max stamina. They get Imperial Metal now, which increases your max stamina by 2,000. Okay, I see where this is going. Red Diamond, 10% chance on melee attack to heal for 6% max health. When you deal direct damage, you have a 15% chance to heal for 17,050. And reduces the cost of block and bash by 5%. Wow, Imperial is the new tank. Most definitely going to be one to look at for tanking because of this just this line right here, like this is going to make them really good for tanking. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 2,000 health, 2,000 stamina does make it a better, but that right there just made it really cool to look at. I want to see what they have to say. Stout and hardy by nature, the Imperial race is one of the older order in battle and culture. They stand strong and unified. Regardless of their hardships, what hardships face them, they are highlighted with their powerful bonuses to constitution and their ability to push back when under pressure. Yeah. But the fact that they get a 5% reduced block cost, this will stack with the 20% from sword and board. The 8% from the other thing. We don't know if it's going to be become a multiplicative or if it's just going to be that. But then if they're a DK, like this makes them super tanks for DK. So that's really cool. I like this, but at the same time, like it doesn't put them too far ahead. Like it puts them in balance with the other races because this like right here is the only thing that really makes them. Will make them really good at tanking. This right here, the 2,000 stamina and max health, like that'll make it different, but it won't make it like super beyond any of the others. Khajiit, the one everybody's super excited for. I've already heard people talking about this. So, increased experience gain in medium armor skill line and 5% bonus to sexual pickpocket. No changes. Nimble, 20% health recovery and 10% stamina recovery. Now they get robustness. Increase your health recovery by 100 and your stamina and magic recovery by 75. It seems low, really low, but it also seems reasonable. Like, because it gives them just a little bit and it's enough to make it different from the other races. So they're going to have a little bit higher base stamina and magic recovery and health recovery to all the other races. So that kind of fits in there. I get it. Reduced detection. So they had stealthy. So now they have Lunar Blessing, which increases their max health, magic, and stamina by 750. That makes them really hybrid-ish. But at the same time, they're not overpowered. They're right there. That's just perfect. Because it fits them in with the other races. Carnage. Increased weapon critical by this. Now they have Feline Ambush. Increased weapon and spell critical by 8%. And reduces your detection radius in stealth by 5 meters. Guys, want to play some Magic at Khajiits? I'm gonna be playing one. That is awesome. That's not even awesome. That's freaking cool as hell. Thank you, Devs. Oh my god. I really can't wait for PTS now because I want to test all this stuff. So the Khajiit race is one of intrigue and versatility, with a natural ability to adapt to any walk of life. Under the guidance of the moons, they can fulfill any role with a well-rounded bonus to all resources. We wanted to better demonstrate their keenness for subterfuge and trickery, so they now have more access to critical strike chance and sneaking potential, regardless of what profession they build into. Wow, that's pretty cool. That Khajiit just became, like, really good. Like, really good. And it's not, like, amazingly good. It's just really good now, because now they've kind of got a mix of everything. But at the same time, they're not so far above everyone else that it's going to make them the best. Like, they're good now. And I like that. I do like this change. Alright, Nord. Let's do this one. So they still get the increased experience gain from two-handed skill line. Extra 15-minute drink minutes on drink buffs. So that extra 15 minutes, I still think really plays into a good tank roll. Or any roll, because they get that extra amount of time on it. No changes. They get Stalwart. This was their old setup. So they had max stamina, 6% max stamina, 20% health recovery. Now they get increased max stamina by 1500. When you take damage, you gain 5 ultimate. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. Alright, I'm going to go on. Resist Frost, 9% max health, 2079 cold resistance. Now they get increased max health by 1000, and your cold resistance by 2310. They're immune to chilled status effect. This makes them really powerful against ice damage stuff. So this is really good. They still have retained that ice damage mitigation, but on top of that, now they're more tankier because of the stamina and the health. But on top of that, they get the ultimate gain. So this puts them in line to be really good tanks with the every 10 seconds 5 ultimate. So yeah, that's a really good change. But let's read Rugged. 6% damage reduction and now it increases your physical and spell resistance by 3,960. This really changes everything. This makes them good tanks in all fields, like Sork tanks, Nightblade tanks, Warden tanks. They're still going to be good DK tanks and Templar tanks, but they're not going to want to use anything that boosts their resistance, because this is going to put them over cap on those classes. So this is really good. So like, you're not going to want to use Bloodspawn with them or Lord Warden or things like that. You can use things like Thorvikin, you can use other sets, and it makes it work for them because they're lacking in certain areas, so you can make up the difference with other things. So it's kind of like you get an equal trade-off. But they're going to be amazing DPS, especially doing two-handed DPS. And they're going to be amazing tanks. They're going to be good at both. But they're also going to be good still with Magicka too, because of that Rugged. Like, because they get the increased health and the increased stamina, like, that's going to give them a difference if they're focusing into that. But if you play them as Magicka, that spell and physical resist difference, that's going to make a big difference on them. Especially in light armor. Like, that makes them really good tanks in any armor. Alright, let's see what they have to say. The hardy Nords reign from Skyrim and are well accustomed to the hardships of life. With the bonus to Constitution and their ability to shrug off the bitter cold, they can soak up immense amounts of damage. Their ability to snap back from punishment is highlighted with their new ultimate game passive. We've changed their flat damage reduction to resistance, so it is better scaled with all playstyles and allowed for different build paths than it did before. Like I said, this just allows them to tank like in anything. This is incredible. This is an incredible change for the Nord. Wow. They can tank in anything with any weapon. Like, this is the equivalent of Sword and Board plus resistance bonus from, like, Lord Warden. Like the one-piece Lord Warden. Or the one-piece of Chuden. In combination with each other, almost. That's crazy. That is just insane. Alright, Orc. Increased experience gain with heavy armor skill line. That hasn't changed, or the 10% inspiration gain. Brawny, 6% max health and stamina. Now it increases your max health and stamina by 500. That seems... okay, that seems really low compared to the other races. If something else in here isn't, like, way better than what it was before, this is really just not gonna be... this is still making them good, but it still keeps them in a weird place. So we'll see. Unflinching healing received. So unflinching healing received by 5%, 20% health recovery. Now they get increased healing received by 4% when you deal damage with a weapon ability. Restore 380 health and stamina. And that effect can happen every 4 seconds. That's... okay. So the 500 health and stamina, that's good. It's just enough to make them good. The 380 health and stamina when they deal damage, and that happens every 4 seconds, that makes them have good sustainability to some degree. So this makes them good at tanking and DPS. And then the effect can occur once every 4 seconds. Alright, Swift Warrior. 4% melee attack, 12% sprint cost reduction, and a 10% sprint. So they increase the weapon damage by 258, reduce the cost of sprint ability by 12%, and increase the movement speed while sprinting by 10%. So it still retains that 12% cost reduction and increased sprint speed, but they get 258 weapon damage. This makes them really good DPS, stam DPS, but at the same time, really good tanks as well, because even though they get that 258 weapon damage, that plays into certain abilities that gives them a greater advantage to some degree, but not enough to still make other tanking classes or races yeah, it's still good. They can tank, heal, and they can fit that role really well, and they can also still play Magicka even though they don't get the melee attack damage, or like they don't get increased spell damage and stuff, but they could play Magicka characters and use Magicka, but with weapon stuff. So they can still do that and gain the benefit of a mix, like a hybrid type thing. So that's kind of cool. I like that change. Let's see what they have to say. The Orc race is one of honor and code, well known for their aggressive combat style. We wanted to showcase this by helping them keep up with the fight with their new recovery, with utilizing any weapon. Their previous bonus to melee damage was too niche, and we wanted orcs to feel powerful and less restricted, with less restrictions. Since we're giving them more damage and aggression, we also wanted to dial back on some of their other defensive power. So, makes sense. Makes perfect sense. I do like it, though. I do like the orc change. Alright, Redguard. This is the one everyone's probably going, oh, I want to see. Increase one-handed sword and shield skill line by 15%. 15% extra minutes on food buffs. No changes. So that's still good. Exhilaration. 9% stamina recovery. Now they have martial training. Reduce the cost of your weapon abilities by 8%. What? So any weapon ability they use, they get 8% reduced cost? That's crazy. Alright, conditioning. 10% stamina recovery. Now they get increased your max stamina by 20%. Or 2,000. Alright. So they get 2,000 extra max stamina. That's understandable. But that 8% reduced weapon ability. Okay, it's just weapon ability. I thought it was like everything. No, weapon ability, that's good. Because now they're not too far ahead of where they were before. They're like kind of right in the same place. And they don't have that massive stam recovery thing. But let's see Adrenaline Rush. When you deal damage with a melee attack, you restore 792 stamina. That could happen every 5 seconds. Now it's when you deal direct damage, you restore 950 stamina. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. Okay, now it makes more sense than what it did before. No offense to those who like the Redguard for this, but it makes more sense now because whenever you deal direct damage, you restore 950 stamina. It's not whenever you deal melee damage, it's whenever you deal direct damage. So you could even be using a staff and deal direct damage and get stamina back. So this makes him really kind of in a mixed area. I think the weapon ability thing is going to be making him really good at stamina DPS, but also really good at tanking because of that. I think that the reduced cost or the increased stamina return on when you deal direct damage, so whenever you use Taunt or Pierce Armor, you use Heroic Slash, so they're going to be really good stamina tanks using Sword and Board, but they can also use the staff and get resources back even because of dealing direct damage. So it's kind of like a good trade-off, and I like this change. I really like that change. I think it still fits the Redguard structure. So let's see what they say. Fierce and resilient, the Redguard race was well respected for their physical combat prowess. We wanted to emphasize their culture background of being well versed in the ways of combat by granting them a cost reduction bonus for weapon abilities while pulling back from some of their other passives recovery. Instead, we moved it more into their offensive staying power with Adrenaline Rush to highlight their natural advantage to attrition. Sorry, guys. No, that's really cool. That's actually makes a lot more sense. All right. As a closing note, we wanted to reiterate that all players will have to have a refund of all their characters' racial passives if they've spent any. So remember to reallocate any points into these on your character once these changes go live. We will also be granting 1 free race change per account. Okay, I already know which character I'm changing the race of, so I'm going to be doing that. And that's actually, I'm changing my Dark Elf from the Dragon Knight, because I'm going to make an Argonian Dragon Knight. Not for tank purposes, or to be a tank, but not for the purposes you guys might think. I actually have a new idea for a tank, and I really want to play it. I've tested it on PTS already, and the Argonian just plays it so well versus any other race. So I'm going to stick with that. But I want my Dark Elf to be a Necromancer, so I'm going to change him over to that when the Necromancer comes out. So I'm going to change that soon. But yeah, I'm super, like this right here, all this stuff here has me super excited. Like this is probably, by a math standard, if you look at this, like I'm just looking at it. Like people are going to go, oh, 2,000 Magicka, that's a lot. It's not. It's really not. When you take into account the percentage bonuses that we get from all the other things we get from the 2, 3, 4, 5 piece bonus, or 2, 3, and 4 set piece bonuses, and a lot of things, there are still going to be races that are going to be better to use for certain things, but it doesn't mean that you can't play them as other things. Like, they're still going to have their benefits for playing other things. Like Breton, I can see them being good tanks, especially in the Magicka sense, because they do still get the spell resist, and they get that 100 extra magic recovery, and they get that magic damage, and then they get that reduced cost and magic abilities. But I can also see Bretons becoming good healers as well, like they still have that magical aptitude, and they'll work in those two fields really good, like tank and healer. But they're going to be, like, people are still going to play the races to dedication. Like, a lot of people will do that. But there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, you know what? I'm just going to play this the way I want. I want to play this Breton as a stamina DPS and yada yada. You know, like, they're not going to care. Because the difference is there, but it's small. It's not as big as it once was. When you take 10% max Magicka and you stack up all the stats, then you add that 10% to it, along with the 20% you get from champion points and the 6% you get from Undaunted, those were all additive bonuses. So you got a total of a 36% increase in max magicka. So that 36% with all the 2, 3, 4, 5-piece bonuses was much greater than. Like, it would be massive. Now it's just going to be, like, you know, I mean, you could probably still get up to, like, 40k magicka, but 46, 47, 48, 49, 52, whatever these people were running around with, I don't see it happening now. So, like, it's still going to be good to build for a primary thing, like, towards magicka or stamina, but you're still going to be able to also build for hybrid now. And I think that's a really cool thing. And, like, Dark Elves are going to be the race for that. Like, they are the ultimate hybrid, with Khajiit coming in second for hybrid. Like, the two, between the two of them, they're both the hybrid races now. And I think that's something that the game needed, was the ability for hybrids to be a thing. And they definitely are showing an interest in wanting to bring that back to the game by giving us that capability, those tools to do that. So this is really cool. This is really cool that they're doing this, because, like I said, it gives a lot of flexibility to the races, and it makes like even the high elf change, like this right here, the recovery thing, like restore 575 magicka or stamina based on which is higher while activating a class ability. Can you imagine now if you play like you want to be a high elf DPS, a stam DPS, you can do that. Even though you get the 2000 magicka, you can do that, and you get the increased spell damage. You can do a hybrid with them. And as long as you focus on, like, one being higher than the other, you can really play off that resource management. Because you could build, like, for magic recovery on one side, and then you build for the resource return on the other. So, like, if you're playing, like, with dual wield and magic, you could do that. Or if you're playing with, like, a mix of different things, you could do that, because now you got that resource return every 6 seconds along with the recovery rate, and then you can use your, like, stam recovery and something else for the other thing. So you kind of get this nice trade-off. Like, I could see them high elves, dark elves, Khajiit, like any race now can work really good, but I could see, like, Shacklebreaker becoming like a set that people will want to use for hybrids, along with, like, Pelinals, or Pelinals and Twiceborn Star, like that kind of combination, or Afflicted and something else, like anything that gives health, stamina, magicka, and any other bonuses with it. I can see a lot of people using those sets in combination with each other to create a lot of different unique hybrids, because it would work really well, and it would fit into the games now, and you would actually be able to play that way and not be so restricted like we once were. So yeah, I'm super excited for these changes. I really want to get in and on PTS and test these next week, because I do feel that this is game changing, and I feel like it's the step in a right direction. But they still need to look at other things. They need to look at gear sets now, like the 2, 3, 4, and 5-piece bonuses of a lot of gear sets. They need to look at and not all the sets, but there is a lot of sets they do need to look at now because of this. They need to look at certain skills and how they work because of this. They need to look at the champion system. Like, it definitely needs a complete overhaul now because of this. Like, I think if they're going to do the champion system and they want to do right and make good adjustments to it, do away with the 2 different options for spell crit and weapon crit and make it one option. Like, whenever you put into this, it gives you both regardless, or you know, it increases both weapon damage and spell damage kind of thing. Like the critical damage, that's it, the critical damage should be both weapon and spell critical damage, but then have them still separated by magic and physical damage, have those still separated, so people can still build, like, into a direct damage type, but also, like, more into, like, a magicka type or a stamina type, but still can build for hybrid as well, and still be just as effective. Like, I think if they're going to do something to the CP system to give it a greater appeal to everyone, they need to focus on the idea that, hey, we want you to still be able to play how you want, but we want to make it more effective. So we want you guys to be able to feel comfortable playing no matter which way you choose. Like if you play a Dark Elf, or you play Khajiit, or you play a Redguard, or you play this, or you play that, we want you to feel comfortable with what you're playing, but we want it to work within our game's design. And they're very clear and adamant on this. What is the play style or ideal build? Like, they're not saying, we want you to build for one particular way. We want you to build it the way you want and play how you want. So they're still sticking to their guns on this. And regardless of what a lot of people think, that's been their motto since launch. And they're sticking to it. And I have to say, I was not expecting these kind of changes. I really wasn't. I was expecting something like, oh, we're going to reduce like the max magicka of the sword of the high elf to 6% or whatever, you know, like a much lower number, so it's more on par with the other races. And I was going, yeah, that would work, but it would still give them percentage increases. Giving them a flat bonus increase doesn't put them too high above other races. It just puts them a little bit above, because now we've got 2%, and that's the other thing they need to look at. They need to look at the CP percentage advance of 20% magicka, health, and stamina, and maybe make that a flat number as well. So the only percentage increase we get is from heavy armor, and I would even adjust heavy armors. Go in and do heavy armors. And I would make it to where it was just the 6% from Undaunted. Like, still give attributes from the Undaunted line, but make it a lot smaller, so that way the things stay more in line with each other. And then just make the Undaunted passive be the only one that does the 6% increase, because then it fits into the design more. It fits into the philosophy of what is your playstyle in or ideal build. Like, it really fits into that kind of concept, that idea. So I think if they did that, I think it would be more effective for the game overall and more effective for the community overall. And it really lays into that idea of, hey, we want you to play how you want, but we also want you to follow the rules of the game to where you can play how you want, but still play within the role standards of our Trinity system, tank, healer, DPS. But you have to build for it. And I think that's what this really does, is it really creates that idea of, hey, we want you to build for this stuff. So, yeah, this is just too cool. So thank you, devs. This is I think, I mean, until I get in and a lot of us get in there and test stuff, we're not going to know for certain if these changes are overall good. But I think just looking at it, mathematically speaking, those are the things that I think they would have to change to make things more balanced. Because with the 20% increase, the 6% from Undaunted and stuff, and then you add in, like, heavy armor has a 10% increase in health, like, those three things right there really set off the differences. Like, that creates a massive bonus to whoever's in heavy armor with health. And I understand heavy armor is supposed to make you hardier, but it would be better if it just gave a flat bonus of, say, 1,000 extra health. Like, if you're wearing heavy armor with this passive, you get 1,000 extra health. Like, that would make sense. And in, like, the champion points, with X amount of, like, if you have 100 points in each of these, you get 1,500 extra health, stamina, magicka. That would make sense. Because then it's across the board. It's every stat gets a flat bonus, and then you add in the 6% bonus from the Undaunted line. Now we can value things easier, and it's more understandable, and it's more not just understanding, but it's more flexible that way. That way you could build for anything, no matter what you're playing. And yeah, some races are going to excel at other things better than others, but it doesn't mean no race could do nothing. Like, every race could do everything there. So, but we'll have to see. I mean, that's just my theory right there, right out the door, just looking at math. And I think that they could do better. I mean, anyone could do better than that. I mean, they could do better, but I think this is a step in the right direction. I think this is actually the perfect step to take right now, because they just put that lock on CP because they want to evaluate CP. This is going to give them time to evaluate the CP with these changes, and they can go, okay, we see where people are saying that this is still they're too powerful for the game. Let's try this, so they can adjust it and go, okay, now this is fitting more into the game's design that we wanted. Now the content's actually more difficult. We can actually change some of the difficulty of some of these other things to bring them more in line with each other, but still keep the mechanics. Like, there's a lot of things they could do. And I think that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to find that perfect balance, not only in PvP, but in PvE as well. Like, they're trying to balance both at the same time. We already know that, but they're trying to keep a good balance between both of them. And I think this is, like I said, this is a good step to do that. Man, this is cool. I'm just excited, because I mean, looking at those changes, I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous! They just nerfed all my class, blah blah blah." And I'm sitting there going, "Wow, they just really made everything good. Like, this is awesome. This is great, in my opinion." Wow, such minor changes. Like, I mean, it is minor changes, because I mean, if you look at that, it is some minor changes, but at the same time, it's so overarching. It's mind-blowing. But I don't want to keep carrying on, guys. I could go on for hours. Right now, I want to go work on some ideas because now that I know what's coming, I'm actually going to sit down and start calculating and coming up with new build structures, because this just changed a lot of my stuff for next release. And yeah, I hope you guys are ready for this. I got a lot of builds ideas now. I've got masses accumulating in my brain. I want to grab my pen and just start writing, because I want to write down a lot of the theoretical builds I want to make first and test and see how they work out. But yeah, I'm super stoked for this. So thank you, devs, for this. This is, I think, a step in the right direction to make the game more balanced and more equalized. I do think you guys should look at the CP system, most definitely. I think that's the next step, is look at the CP system and fix that before you go into doing other adjustments in the game. Like, a lot of the gear sets, I know a lot of people will be like, yeah, but they don't really fit. A lot of the gear sets still fit in the game really well, because they're like, you got to look at the game in its design. Like, you have all the overland sets and stuff, which overland sets are more geared towards helping you get to the next step or the next stage, and then they can take you even further in some cases, not all. Then you have the crafted sets, which are the same thing. You have they can help get you started, but they also can carry you into greater areas, and I think that's good. Then you have the final, you know, like the dungeon sets, which is, and monster sets, and then the arena weapon sets like Maelstrom, you know, all that, or the weapon sets. You have that kind of stuff, and that stuff is kind of like taking you a step further. And then you have the trial sets, which take you even further. So you have like this tier of gear still that's there, but you still have a lot of options. Like, I mean, it's so massive now, it's not even going to be funny. Like, the amount of build options went from, I mean, it's still in the millions. Like, the combination of builds is in the millions now, and it's still gonna stay there. And there will always be a meta, guys. The guys that play the meta, they're already working on ideas. Like, trust me, these guys are breaking this stuff down and trying to figure out how to make the meta work, like to make the best meta. And it probably won't change by much, to be honest. It probably won't change by much. Like, the main tank race might become the Imperial, or it might become the Nord. I don't know. It'll be like, in my opinion, it would be one of those two. The Argonians still might be good for some tank capabilities, but it's not gonna beat those two out. Like, nothing is gonna beat those two. Like, those two right now is showing the best for tanking, and the Nord just like that resistance buff. My God. But like I said, I could go on, guys. I'm just not going to. So here's the thing. Let me know in the comments below what your guys' thoughts and opinions on these changes are. I can't even explain, like, right now. My head's going 9,000 miles an hour with ideas. So it's pretty scary in there. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Other than that, you guys know what's coming next. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching, and have a great day. I don't know what else to say. Oh, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy will see you in game. Bye!